All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'll go ahead and take this off. Whew, I can breathe. It's nice to take it off every once in a while. Well, good afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us. In case you forgot, my name is Nikki. I am the Community Education Coordinator here at the North Carolina Zoo. And thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it. We appreciate it every week. Some of you guys come by, you're our regulars, and we love that. And we appreciate you guys. And that's what this program is about, how we appreciate and thank. Last time we were together, we thanked the animals that helped our world. Today, we're going to thank the North Carolina Zoo and the cool, amazing stuff it does. But before we get into that, let's go over those boring rules. I know. You guys noticed you were muted when you came in? Just to make it a better program so we don't have to talk over each other, and I get distracted very easily, so it helps me greatly. And then, of course, I'm going to test your knowledge again, all right? If I have questions for you, where should you put those? Show me where to put those in the place you're supposed to put them. So type it in what box? The chat box or the Q&A?
Chat box.
Nice job, guys. And if you have questions for me, put that in the box is supposed to go to. And I got Megan behind the camera here helping me today. So she's monitoring that Q&A. Nice job, guys. Right, so those who haven't been. So yeah, if I have questions for you, put those in the chat box. If you have questions for me, put those in the Q&A box. And myself will try to answer some online. We have a team of smart people behind the scenes, I think, today. Do we have people today? I don't know.
We've got that. She's all that matters.
That's all right. We got that. She's back there. She's helping us out, answering some of those questions and monitoring the Q&A for us, because you guys ask great questions and I don't know everything. So I need all the help I can get. All right, guys. So let's thank the North Carolina Zoo today, because we do some amazing conservation work. A lot of research and conservation of animals all over the world. I have a really cool map. Let's see. I always do this wrong, is it? It doesn't want to. So all those little blue dots with the animals kind of coming across there, and all the different countries you see, these are conservation work that we do around the world. So we're going to take a trip around the world and kind of visit some of the conservation stuff that our zoo does. We either have staff that go there and help, or we support them by sending them whatever they need, donations or whatever it is they need to help animals all over the world. So pretty cool, right? So let's go to, where should we go first? Let's go, so we can find it on the map. We're going to go to the Caribbean. Or Caribbean, however you want to say it. Potato, potato. All right. And we're going to save. Yeah. Find it. This guy. Hey, cute.
Aww.
Isn't he cute? I think he's adorable. So this is the Puerto Rican crested toad. And I guess you can't guess where they're found. So the Puerto Rican crested toad is the only toad that is native to Puerto Rico and actually the Virgin Islands. And they're only found in 2 natural habitats, only 2 places in the world you can find these guys. And so they're critically endangered. And so we have had staff been going down there and kind of helping create ponds, places for them to breed and have more babies, because right now those 2 places are endangered of, as rising sea levels, salt is actually going up into their natural habitats, and they don't do salt. They have to have fresh water. And so they're trying to create some other places, alternate places for them to go. And we're also breeding them. So here at the zoo, we have the adults, and then we take some of the tadpoles or young frogs down to Puerto Rico and we release them into areas that are kind of protected and safe for them to kind of bolster those numbers, bring those numbers up, which is pretty cool. That we travel with little baby frogs and tadpoles down to Puerto Rico. And we've released about 2,000 of them so far. Yes.
So that does play into Natalie's question about, do you bring animals from other countries?
Excuse me. To our zoo? Are you telling me to kind of get how we get animals from? Not as much. And probably decades ago, that was probably more the case. People would bring them from out in the wild, bring them into zoos. But now we do a lot of breeding programs and we exchange animals between zoos. So we like, hey, I've got this animal, you want it? Okay, no, you want this animal? We got this animal. And the zoos all talk to each other, and we figure out how to get that so we don't have to take animals from the wild. There are instances where it does happen. So if an animal is not in danger at all, there's plenty of them, sometimes they're even a nuisance, then we take them. Like we have a couple of our black bears, which were considered, and our brown bear too, were considered nuisances. And so they would have been killed otherwise. So they were brought into.
It's like an annoying little sibling.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. A nuisance, a pest, a pain, however you want to say
but
it.
Not
right.
to us.
Right, absolutely. We're lucky we had them. We don't find them to be a nuisance at all. And then another cool place, these guys, I think these guys are adorable.
Aww.
Look at that little sticky. Come on. How cute is that?
Oh.
So this is the Virgin Island tree boa. And again, can you figure out where they're from? So the Virgin Islands. And this is one of the rarest species of boas in the world. And so we're going to these islands, and staff is going to these islands, and they're doing surveys. They want to know exactly how many are there. What do we have? A lot more males, females, where they're breeding, where's, all that good. They want trying to gather all that information. And then we're also have a breeding program here at the zoo so that we'll have a population in human care just in case something should happen on those islands, like a hurricane or something, and it could possibly wipe out these populations. So we kind of have a backup plan. And eventually we're hoping to breed enough to be able to put them back in the Virgin Islands too, and kind of bolster those populations too. So pretty cool things we're doing there in the Caribbean. Yes.
You said that is a what kind of a?
It is a Virgin Island tree boa.
So,
and they only get about 2 feet long. That's it.
So do they live in trees? Natalie wants to know.
They do. Actually, they like to be up in trees. I do believe if you go to our website, there's some really cool pictures of them. Or just Google it. Yeah, they found them up in trees. How do you find, that's pretty cool that they're able to find, and they have to survey. And by survey, they're out looking for these animals.
You have really good vision.
That's a tiny little critter. And then 2 feet long. That's the longest to get. So that's not an easy job. So that's our curator of reptiles and amphibians and fish and invertebrates, and he does all that stuff. So he does a lot of that research and goes out. And that's his hand. That's Dustin Smith's hand. That's his hand, yep. All right, so we went to the Caribbean. Let's go. So we were here. Let's go clear across to the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're going to meet some birds. Get my props. So in the Mariana Islands, which is in the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of this island chain in the Pacific Ocean. Have you guys ever heard of the Island of Guam? It's actually a U.S. territory, and so are the Marianas. It's a Commonwealth of the United States. And many years ago, ships would come to Guam, and because it was a military base, a lot of military, the Navy and all that. I think my dad was shipped there many, many years ago when I was growing up. And so they actually brought all these ships in. It was a great place to kind of stop in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where there's just nothing around. So it's a great place to get supplies and all that stuff. And so for many years, ships were coming. And on those ships, unfortunately, they were coming from other islands, and there was a stowaway on those ships. That stowaway was a snake. It was a brown tree snake. And it would get off the ships and it got onto the island of Guam. And next thing you know, Guam has no birds. Wiped out most of the birds on Guam because they eat the smallest birds. And that's a big problem. You need birds, right? Hopefully we've learned. My bird nerd in me cringed at that thought. And so the snake actually started going to other islands too, was being spread to other islands through the ships and stuff. And so the North Carolina Zoo and many other zoos, actually, a lot of other places collaborated and they got together. And so every year we send staff over and they go to Saipan and they collect certain species of birds, and then they catch them in these. I don't want to unravel it because it's really hard. It's called a mist net, but it's a big net, and right now it's just rolled up really tight. But this nest basically spreads way out, and it's kind of loose, and the birds hit the net and they fall into these little pockets, and then the scientists carefully extract and take. It takes a lot of patience, and they have to do it very quickly and safely so we don't injure the bird or stress it out too much. And so once they get it in hand, like this cutie, this is a rufous fantail. Oops. You would think I would learn by now how to do this. So they get them in hand, they take measurements, they band them, they do all kinds of information, and then they put them in a little box. And then they take care of them until they're done collecting. They have a certain amount they want to collect for that trip. And then once they've collected all those, they take them to other islands that are snakeless. So that they have no snakes, because snakes are not native to these islands at all. And then they release them. And then once they leave, ask the native government to kind of help monitor those islands and make sure, what we're doing is okay, that we did, we're doing it right. Are the birds breeding? Are the numbers going up? Otherwise, this is kind of a waste of a lot of time and money and manpower. And it has been very successful. So it's been so successful so far. Yes, we have a question.
So Heather wants to know, how many birds have they eaten? So as far as how fast was that decline once those snakes got to the island? Pretty quick. It was pretty fast because the snakes got to the island. There was probably a handful of snakes, and it was like a free buffet because those birds have never had to deal with snakes before. Remember, there was no snakes on these islands, and so they had no idea what that was a predator even. And so they're just like, oh, hey, what's that moving stick? It's a moving hand. What is that thing? And so they really didn't know how to defend themselves, or they didn't know that I should leave now. Whereas the birds here, they know. They see a snake, they're gone. They know better. Those birds did not know that. And so there was easy pickings for those snakes. And so pretty quickly, the snakes were like, woohoo, this is a great buffet. And their population just blew up. So I would say it was World War I, World War II, where those snakes, a lot of those snakes were brought over. And that was 1920s, 30s, 40s, somewhere in there. Right. And then probably until, maybe, not sure exactly when they started. They started this program, I want to say 16 years ago. So even further than that. So probably it took maybe 30, 40 years. I have a question, Nikki. Would be my guess. It's just a guess, guys. Again, yes. Did any of those species of birds that were preyed upon by the snakes go extinct? That we know of? I don't think they went extinct. They're pretty close. There's some that are critically endangered. The Guam rail is definitely one of them. I don't think anything gone extinct, but the reason we're on helping them is some of these birds, they're what we call endemic, which means they're only found on these islands in the whole entire world. It's the only place you can find some of these birds, like that rufous fantail I showed you. And I was actually supposed to go in March. I know, we're all set to go. In April. I was supposed to go, but COVID wasn't that a year. So hopefully in the future, when they can get this program back up and going, I'll get to go. Because my job would have been to educate, because they were just adding this component. They're having educators from around from other zoos to go, and we're going to actually educate the people on the islands and get them excited about this project and maybe want to help out. And it takes a little bit of, pressure off everybody else's plate too. So if we can get the buy-in from the people that are there, it's better odds for those birds of surviving. So maybe one day I'll get to go and spend my time on a nice island. Hopefully I will. Oh, that's the plan. All right. Any other questions about those? You guys asked some good questions. Nice. All right. So let's go to, okay, I can find it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Look at that. All right, let's go to Africa. Because if you notice, we have a lot. That's a pretty big space. Yeah, we have a lot of conservation work going on over there. And one of them, probably pretty cool one I like to talk about, has to do with these guys. Aww. Does anybody know what this is? A stuffed version. Look at those eyeballs. I am. It's the vulture. Right, that's the vulture. Absolutely. And vultures are actually pretty awesome. Does anybody know why vultures are so awesome? What do they do to earn their awesomeness? Turkey buzzards, right? Yep.
You guys think, what do these guys do to make them so awesome?
They
eat dead
road.
things, right? Absolutely. Yeah. So in Africa, they like to call them the soap of the savannas. So they are eating all those dead animals, cleaning up the world, because that carcass, that dead animal, has a lot of different bacteria and diseases that start growing on it. And these guys are able to eat that and not be infected or impacted by that. And they clean that out in the environment. So that way those diseases and stuff will not be spread in that environment. So super important. But
Atticus says they're very important to the ecosystem.
They are very absolutely. Thank you, Atticus. They definitely are. But what's happening is farmers have, farmers. They're the ones that have livestock. So they have their cows, some livelihood. And every once in a while, a lion will get lazy and they will see those cows and they'll be like, oh, sweet food. I don't have to chase down a Thomason's gazelle, which is way faster than me, anything like that. So these guys are a little bit slower. And sometimes they eat those livestock. And the farmers don't like it, which I don't blame them, because that's their livelihood. That is their, how they survive. And so they kind of retaliate by putting poison on that cow or whatever that the lion has killed. And so unfortunately, yes. So the lion kills the livestock, the farmer puts poison on it, and then the lion, not only the lion eats that, but look at all the other animals that are impacted by that poison. So it kills one lion, but it also kills jackals, hyenas, vultures, eagles, all kinds of different animals. So it has a huge impact. And so vultures in Africa are declining very quickly at a very rapid rate. And so we've had one of our research curators, she goes over to Africa and she's been studying vultures in Africa. And they want to know where they're going, trying to find out where the poisonings are happening and that kind of stuff. And it's really cool how they do it. And so the vultures in Africa are really, really big. So this is not life size by any means, guys. They go and they put a backpack on the vulture. So this thing right here. And it's a satellite tracker, kind of like a GPS thing. And so they catch the vulture and they put this on them, and they don't put it on with twine, I swear. That was just for our purposes. But what they use, it only holds for, I want to say like a year or so, and then it falls off. So it's not on all the time, but it's kind of cool. It's solar powered, which makes sense. This is on the back. They're always up in the sky, soaring with the sun on their back. And so it powers it constantly and it sends out a signal, and they're able to track them, and they can find out where those poisonings are. They can actually find out where poaching has happened. Because if they stop and they are eating and gorging, they can, they're tracking and they go to find them and they find a poached animal, they can let the rangers know. So, and they've been able to catch poachers that way too. So and that's another thing, a lot of poachers will actually poison the carcasses because they don't want them to give them away. So pretty crazy stuff going on.
Nikki, yes. You may have already mentioned this, but how is it attached again? It's
right. So it goes under their wings. Like that, but that's what they use is a lot different. It's not twine, like I said, and it just goes under their wings like a backpack, like you'd wear on a backpack, and it just kind of sits on their back. It's super light, guys. It's really, really light.
And it's not glued on or anything.
It's not glued on. It's just, see how it's like that? It's not glued on. It moves around. It's just tied by these strings because you can see it.
And if goes through, they can easily come out of it.
Right.
They can pull it off.
And it's a material that they can't bite at and peck at and break, but over time, eventually it disintegrates and breaks off after a while. So yeah, that was definitely not glued on. It's not, it's not drilled on. It's nothing. It's just on like a backpack, just like you put a backpack on your back.
And also,
so they have wings.
They do. Also, Charles mentioned in the chat that anesthesia would work, better instead of poison as far as for the lions. I'm assuming that's where you're going with this, Charles. Yeah. But anesthesia is a lot more expensive, harder to get, harder to dose. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't use it right, it would be a poison in itself. So it depends on the anesthesia. So yeah, if you give it too much, then it becomes a poison. So
and it's a lot easier for farmers who want to get rid of the lions and leopards to just buy cheap poison.
Exactly. It's easier to get their hands on. And so part of the job too is also educating people there, like ranger staff and staff there. So if they find a poison animal, how to take care of it so it can survive. And also how to educate those farmers and, to tell them, not to do this, and to protect those vultures and how important they are. So yeah, so that is a big thing going on there. And this is just kind of a cool picture. So this is Dr. Kendall. So she's the one that's doing this research. Thank you. And you can kind of see, and there we go. There's a backpack on his back. So huge birds. You can't even see it because, they're massive birds. They have at least a 6-foot wingspan. And so this little backpack on their back, they don't even notice. They hardly even notice it. So pretty cool. And then they're released and then they're able to track them. And I think there's a lot of really cool information about that they're learning from that tracking too. Okay. So many. And you guys, we do so much. We're not going to hit all of it. I'm trying to do the highlights of it. So I would love to be able to. We'd be here all day, literally all day. Let's see. Where am I at? We got vultures. Let's do something we just kind of really started helping. Are these critters? That makes me a social distance at Walmart. Nice. So everybody get your vulture wings out. It's Walmart. Vulture wing apart, people.
That's great.
Nice. I like that. What animal we got? We got a giraffe. Right. Nice job, Charles. So we just started actually studying. We have people over there doing research right now because giraffe numbers are declining pretty quickly. And so we have staff over there who are doing a lot of research with them. They're getting information about their population, which boys and girls, where they're hanging out, where they're eating, all that good stuff, because they need that information before they can do conservation work. And also there's something called the skin disease.
That'll cause problems too.
A skin disease that is impacting giraffes. And so they're trying to study that and figure out what's happening, how is it, what's going on with it, where's it coming from, and that kind of stuff. So they need to do research first before we can do some and gather that information before we really do more conservation work. So that's in the process right now. So I'm sure we're going to start helping the giraffes there in Africa. That's really hard. All right, don't toss a giraffe skin next time. Okay, another cool thing. We've been doing this for at least 2 decades, 20 years. We've been going to Africa and helping elephants by putting, I don't know if I've showed you guys this thing before. I'm just gonna stay here. Yeah. Because it's really heavy. This is a tracking collar. So you know that thing that we put on the vulture? You can roll it, you realize?
Yeah, but it doesn't have the thingy on the side.
There we go. So look at this. This is bigger than me. And I'm not a small person by any means. Oh, it's heavy too. So this is another tracking color. So we're trying to track what animal. I probably said it, but just in case you weren't paying attention, what animal would we track using something like this? Your guesses? What would wear?
Charles has an elephant.
Nice, right. Elephant. Absolutely. So,
wow, Nikki's going to break the
table. It is very heavy. So elephants are so huge and they eat a lot of food. And so that's pretty much all they do is they walk around looking for food because they eat over 200 pounds, 200 to 300 pounds of food a day. And we have herds of them. So there could be up to 20 elephants eating 200 to 300 pounds of food a day. So they're constantly walking around just looking for food, eating food. And so when they come across a farmer's field, it's like, woo, it's a buffet. And of course they go to town and they destroy those fields. And the farmers, not so happy about that, just like they were kind of a little angry with those lions. And that's why we have to learn to kind of work together, learn to work with the animals and kind of coexist with each other. And so the farmers aren't very happy with that because they've lost their livelihood, and so there's been a lot of conflicts and, a lot of fighting and unfortunately death on both sides. Like my fighting, a little fighting. It's more like, So, and there's been deaths on both sides, humans and elephants, unfortunately. And so the zoo's been going over And they go and they find a herd and they pick out one elephant. Let's see if you guys know. What elephant would they pick out to put that collar on? Mm-hmm. Does anybody know anything about elephants and their kind of hierarchy and how they work? Who rules, the boys or the girls?
Charles says the head male.
Okay. Any other guesses?
Natalie says men.
Man. Any other guesses?
Nicole says the leader. Female.
Oh, nice. You got it. It is the head. They look for the matriarch. So the head female. Because it's the females. Most of the herds are females. Once the boys get a certain age and get old enough to start breeding, they're usually kind of booted out of the group and they're kind of on their own. So it's the head female that they're looking, because where she goes, everybody follows. So it makes sense just to kind of collar her, and then we don't have to collar 5 different elephants, because it's a lot of work and it's very dangerous to put that on. So they have to dart her and put her temporarily to sleep. Temporarily, she will come back. They don't kill them. So our head vets have been going over there for about 20 years or so. Dr. Loomis, this guy right here. Nope, where do we go? There we go. I was going to say opposite way you want it. So that's Dr. Loomis. He was our head vet. He's retired now, but he's still going over and helping. And then our new head vet, JB Minter, Dr. Minter, he goes over now and helps out. But they put him to sleep, and then they and obviously you can't put a collar on an awake elephant if you want to live. So they put it to sleep, they put the collar on, then they give it a reversing agent, and the animal wakes up, goes on about its day. And this stays on for about 3 to 5 years, and it sends out a tracking signal. So this part, oh Lord.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, this part right here is a transmitter. So this sends out a signal to a satellite up in space, and then it monitors where they're moving. And then there's why it's so heavy, because at the bottom, I'm not going to lift this again, is a counterweight. It's so heavy that it stays down there, and gravity holds it down and keeps the satellite up here at the top of their head, so it can send out a signal out to space. So pretty smart engineering. That is heavy.
And it doesn't slide over. It does have a
right.
opening that they will actually
right.
fit it to the elephant.
Yeah, so they can fit individually. Each elephant's big, is different sizes, so they can fit it to that exact elephant sizes, what they need. And then they get that information. And what's really cool, not only do they get the information, they share it. And they tell the farmers, the people, hey, we have been tracking and monitoring. They have a pattern to their movements. So this time of year, the elephants are here. So plant your crops down here. By the time you're ready to harvest, they'll move down. You've cleared out that land, and then you can plant up here. So that way they can work together. And so they've been able to, since we started doing that program and helping and giving them those information, there's been 0 elephant-human conflict since then.
Wow.
So that's learning to live together. So learning where the elephants are moving, how they're moving, where they're going to be, having that information is going to help you be able to know, oh, okay, this is what I can do. These are things I can do to kind of keep, so that I can have my farm, I can have my plants, I can survive, and the elephants can survive, because they're all important, and we all have to share this planet. All right, that's a pretty cool project, right? And then another really cool thing is this.
Cell phone.
We all have one. This thing is saving lots of animals' lives. Somebody know how a cell phone can save animals' lives?
Natalie doesn't know.
No, most people don't. If you do, you've been paying attention and been watching us. So what happens is we actually train. We have it only saves lives if you have a certain app put on it called the Smart app. And so my director and many other people have helped develop what
Charles says they can call for help when they need it. They're accurate.
We're out there handing out the elephants. Elephants, if you see a poacher, give us a call, right? That would be handy. Just go work. I don't have thumbs. It's kind of hard to push
Their
buttons.
trunk can pick up a
That's true. That's true. Every
totally
elephant could call. You're right. A little hard to understand them, though, I don't think. Thanks, Charles. We need that.
He wasn't talking about that, but
Oh, that's where we went to. So anyways, okay. Back to this. So the SMART app, S-M-A-R-T, capital S, capital M, capital A, R-T, whatever. Yeah, we got this thing right here. Let's look at that. So SMART. So this was developed, it's software that was developed by staff here at the zoo and other collaborations also. And they designed the software so that rangers, people on the ground, in not just in Africa and all over the world actually, when they're out patrolling, see those red dots right there? So those are, so they're looking for threats, might be signs of a poacher. All those red dots are snares that were found. And so as they're on a patrol and they're walking around, they have the cell phone or a rugged tablet, and it's heavy duty because, you know, you're walking around in rugged terrain out there. You want a heavy duty equipment. And so they're supplied with the phones and that app. And then as they're walking around and out in the field, they can plug in, okay, there was a snare here. We took it out. We dismantled it and taken it back with us. But we want to know, we want to keep track of where it was found. And so they tap that in. There's a GPS in here. So it takes that little data rate point right there. And as they're moving and they see signs of, I don't know, elephant poop, they can enter that in. And so as other patrols, any, you know, monitoring threats, they can monitor signs of wildlife, like these guys, they're monitoring monkeys. All those dots are signs that a monkey was there. And so they are able to take that information, bring it back to their main office, download that information, and it maps it out for them so they can see. They have a visual, like, hey, so when I'm out in the field here and I want to find a poacher, do I concentrate my efforts here where there's no red dots? Or am I going to concentrate my efforts here, all over here, where all those dots are? And so they don't waste, they can see it now and have a visual and be like, oh, okay. And so they put their efforts in there and they can catch those poachers much, much faster and much more successful by doing that.
They can better use their limited resources, right, and limited
exactly.
people that are helping.
Yeah. So all these, so elephants, leopards, lions, rhinos, gorillas, all kinds of different animals benefit from that. And there's not just in Africa, all these blue spots you see and dots are places that are using that smart technology. And I do believe, oh, it's not on there yet. I can't do it. It's so hard. It's so all these places are now using, like over like 850 places, sites are now using that smart technology to help them monitor their animals and all those threats that are happening to their animals, and hopefully be more successful at keeping those animals safe, which is pretty awesome, right? So that's pretty awesome. And we do it for the large animals, but because we're protecting large animals, the small ones benefit. Or everything benefits, right? So if you have a safe place for elephants, you want, or elephants or rhinos, you want to keep them protected, it doesn't just protect them, it protects everything in that. Ooh, sorry, buddy. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. So in Africa, not only are the elephants and everyone else being protected, but even some of our smallest creatures reap the benefits. Right? So protected areas help all the big and the small. And these guys are just as important as the elephants, as the rhinos, as those big, beautiful, cuddly animals. Well, not so cuddly animals, but animals that people absolutely love. We forget about the small ones like this guy, the African giant millipede. All right, you were close, Natalie. It was a good guess. But this is a millipede. And they're just as important because then we know what do these millipedes eat? So centipedes are carnivores, they eat meat, whereas these critters are not. Does anybody know what a millipede likes to eat.
Natalie says leaves.
Nice, Natalie, right? Leaves. So they like to eat dead, decaying plants. And so they're kind of whereas the vultures are the soap of the savannas, these are the Roombas of the forest, right? So they're out there cleaning up the forest, making sure it's nice and clean. I totally stole that from last week's. I love that, the Roomba of the ocean. I'm like, oh, that's a great way of saying that. So, right. So Roomba. So they're out there cleaning up all those dead and decaying plants, making sure it's nice and clean, and then pooping out soil. So as they break down those plants, they poop out nutrients back in the soil so more plants can grow, which means more animals can live, and then which means other animals can live. And then, of course, these guys and the vultures cleaning up the world for us. So very important jobs they have. So super important. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, somebody started saying detritus, right? Yeah, detritus. Nice, Charles. Right. That's the technical word, is detritus. Right.
Natalie is asking, what is SARN? SARN? I'm not sure. Not sure about that.
I don't know.
What she may be referring to. Now, if you can help us out with that, in the chat or Q&A.
Oh, thank you, Beth, for telling them what's SMART meant. I totally forgot that. A spatial monitoring reporting tool.
Does he have?
Yeah.
Oh, does he have eyes?
He does. They're kind of very small, hard to see. He mostly uses those antennae. You can see him feeling around with those two right there. That's their main sense of finding out what's going on around them. They do have eyes, but they're not the best. It's those antennae they mostly rely on for sensing their world.
With the app. So SMART is actually the name of the technology, not
right.
SARN. So if you look at the chat, Beth actually typed it in.
Yeah.
And
I'll put the thing back up, the logo.
Yeah.
So SMART, it stands for Spatial Monitoring and Reporting Tool. So basically spatial monitoring means maps, right? Reporting tool is that being able to plug it into thing and say, hey, I found this, I got this, I found a snare, I found some poop, I found the animal, I found this, and being able to put that all in one place, in one location. And then being able to put all that information together and make reports and make maps of it. That's super, super important. So that's where that comes from. So it's a big fancy word.
Snare.
Oh,
that's
snare.
Okay, that
okay.
Makes my brain. Thank you. Totally.
So snares, right. So that red dots were snares. So snares are basically I'm gonna put him down because I need my hands. I like to talk with my hands, so it's very hard. I feel like I can't talk.
I'm going for a ride, Millipede.
I know. I don't want him to do that. I don't want to fling him across the room. So I'm trying to display the stuff here. So snares are like so they're wire. Basically, it's wire that's kind of made into a loop. And if an animal goes into the loop, it actually pulls tight and it can't loosen up and you can't get out of it. And that's a big issue with a lot of different animals. Where did I read? Somewhere is it Nagogo? Beth, you have to correct me. Where chimpanzees, I think about a third of the chimpanzees have injuries from snares. They either lost fingers or hands because they get caught in the snares as they're walking by, because they're very light, they're hard to see. So they're just staked wire that's kind of staked down and either at whatever height they want to catch the animal or whatever it is they're trying to catch or poach, I should say. And so as the animal walks by, it gets that snare around. And as they keep walking, it pulls really tight and then it pulls out of the ground or either keeps them there depending how it's done. But a lot of them have severe injuries because of
the
that.
Snares, they cannot loosen them up at
all. They can't
all.
loosen. They just, the more they pull on it, the tighter it gets. And so it's hard to get out unless you have a pair of wire cutters, and most animals aren't carrying those around on them. So yeah.
Beth says it is N-G-O-G.
Nagogo, yeah. So I thought so. Oh, all right. Good question. We'll figure it out. Sometimes the typos kind of throw us off occasionally. All right. So travel around the world. Saw some really cool places that were helping animals. But let's go to North Carolina. Come on home to North Carolina.
What are we doing here, Nikki?
Well, let me just tell you, Megan. All right. Let's see. Where should we start?
North Carolina.
Let's go with, well, thank you. We'll go to the coast.
Oh, that's a good place to start.
Yeah, let's go to the beach.
Yes, please.
Does anybody know what animal we'll find near the beach, not at the beach, that has a coat that looks kind of like this? You want to guess?
Ooh,
nice job,
Nathan.
Nathan. Red wolf, right? Absolutely. So red wolves can only be found in the wild in North Carolina. I say by the beach, in the northeast. To do my math. Northeast quarter of North Carolina, Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge. Right? I think that's right. So many anagrams, are they what they're called? Or I don't know. It's one of those big fancy words that my brain is already on vacation. It's already thinking about turkey next week. So it's like, nope.
So take about 50% of what Nikki says today.
I know. Something like that. Maybe 60%. We'll give me a little bit of the
There you go. Thank you, Beth. Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge.
Refuge. There it is. Refuge. Refuge. I like that. It's a new word. Refuge. Refuge. So that is the only place in the world you can find wild red wolves. And this is a critically endangered animal. We're talking less than 20, guys, in the wild. Less than 20. There are more in human care. Like our zoo, we have more here at the zoo than there are out in the wild. So we have over 20. I'm going to say, are we up to 25, 26? Do you know, Beth? I can't remember.
Last time I saw one of the curators, he said we've got more than almost what we have room for right now.
Yeah. I know. That's less than 20 in the wild. Yeah. But here at the zoo, I think we're up to 20, 26, 27, something like that. I forget, we've had some pups born this last spring, so I forget to add them. It used to be just 20 we had, but now we have more. So there's more in human care. There's over 200, I think up to 250 red wolves in human care. So not just at our zoo, but about 40 other facilities around the country that are breeding red wolves to keep them, their populations alive. And that's actually why we have red wolves here in North Carolina, is because at one point there were no red wolves here because they were what we call extirpated. They were killed off. And so the only place we ended up finding them was down in Louisiana and Texas. I feel like, I'm sorry I do this because in my mind there's a map in front of me. So I was like, they're over here. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? They're right there. So in Louisiana and Texas, they found the last of their wolves, and they were actually able to bring them in to human care and then breed them and bring those numbers up, and then take some of those wolves and release them out into the wild. And one of those places was the Alligator River here in North Carolina. There were a couple other sites, but they just did not work. And North Carolina worked very well for a while. But unfortunately, a lot of politics got in the way, and we didn't get the landowners buy-in. We didn't really chat with them because they didn't stay on the park. They moved out because we got so many of them. They started breeding, doing so well, that they left the park and were going on to public land and, farmers, their land. And there's all kinds of different myths about these wolves. And then coyotes started moving in, and then farmers didn't want the coyotes, and it's hard to tell the difference between a coyote and a red wolf.
So that brings up a point. Yeah. Nathan says that saw one at the beach, and then he comes back and says probably wasn't a red wolf.
Probably not. They don't really go. Probably a coyote. Coyotes are these guys are super timid. Very rare that you would see one. I think we went to Alligator River a few years back we were in that area for a conference. We're hoping to see one. Yeah, no, we didn't see one. They're not just hanging out. They're very, very shy, very skittish, and they're more like, they're not very harmful, but people just have that fear of animals, fear of wolves. They're big, scary. They're going to eat their livestock and their livelihood. Yeah. So that's that myth, but, and that's part of our job too. Not only are we part of a breeding program, but we're educating people about these amazing creatures to hope to bring them back, because they are an integral part of the ecosystem. They're that apex predator, those main predator, not even apex, but they are a high predator on that food web, keeping things in check that we need. So when we get rid of those, like the mountain lions And the red wolves, next thing you know, we're overrun with deer and we're overrun with mice and rodents and nutria and all kinds of different animals, which can impact the ecosystem. So it's super important to have them around.
And Beth says, according to ZIMS, which is our zoo's website thingy-majigger, we did have 26 red wolves.
26. All right. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate that. ZIMS is where we put in all our information for all our animals here at the park.
There we go.
And a lot of other zoos do too. And that way we have all the information on all of the individual animals, like how old they are, how long they've been here, all that good stuff, where they came from, what other zoo they came from.
I apologize, Beth. My words were not coming out. She says our animal database.
There you go. Thank
Short
you.
and concise, accurate.
Yep.
Not what was coming out. Sorry.
I understand. There with you. All right. Let's see. We went to beach. Let's go to the mountains.
Okay.
Yay. Oh. This is lighter. And we're going to help these guys. Hello.
Oh, look at the cootie.
Just hello. Does anybody have any clue what this guy is? A replica of what he is. This is a little bit more.
Charles has a hagfish.
Oh, that's kind of a good guess, because they are kind of slimy like that. And they are found in fresh water.
This is a lizard.
Looks like a lizard. You're very close. But no scales, which means, oh, there you go, a salamander, right? What kind of salamander?
Oh,
anybody know?
You're just trying to trick everybody.
I know, making you work for it. Nice. Hellbender. Is it Nicole? Is that how you say it? Is that how you say it? I don't even know.
I remember. Yep, I remember you being on here before.
Okay. Yeah. I've never seen it spelled like that, so it's throwing me off. That's cool. I'm a Nicole too. I don't spell mine that way, so it's throwing me off. So right, hellbenders are one of our largest salamanders, and they're only found in freshwater streams in the mountains, and they require nice, clean water. And so staff has been going over the mountains to kind of survey, see what's going on, how many are there, that kind of population, because they tell us how healthy our streams are in the mountains. If they start disappearing, then we know there's something wrong and there's something going on. So these are a good monitor of our ecosystem. And so I actually got to be a part of that many years ago. They stick you in a cold stream, and then they like to live under rocks. Not just small rocks, I'm talking giant boulders.
Well, they're 2 feet long.
Yeah,
they can't fit on your small rocks.
I know, but but you have to be able to get them out from under there. And so somebody puts it's called a peavey, which is kind of like a stick-like thing. And it's called, or fulcrum is a fancy word. And they put it and they lift up the rock. And then some poor sap, which is me occasionally, had to put my scuba mask on and snorkel and go under the rock. Oops, you guys can't see me. Go under the rock and scoop and see if there's a hellbender in there. Yeah.
You just like randomly scoop.
I know, and scoop it. I know.
Water. Okay, cool.
Scooping water, just scooping, looking, trying to see if you can feel a giant hellbender. And that's how you survey. So you're looking under rocks, and occasionally you find them. And then you take my favorite part, which is what I like to prefer to do, was you take data, you measure them, you weigh them, all that good stuff, and then you release them back into the wild. And so
Nicole says, yuck.
I know. And you know what their nickname is?
Oh,
that's my favorite nickname in the whole world. They're called a snot otter. Because they are slimy, because they have to get under those rocks. So they have a coating, they're extra super slimy. So not only have you go under there and try to catch them, but you have to try to hold on to them too. And they do have mouth and they do have teeth because they eat crayfish. Yeah, so that was a kind of a little bit dangerous job to do that. So, but we needed to do that because we needed to make sure our lands were, the waters are clean, because that's the only place they can survive. They were finding that they were starting to disappear. What time do we have? Oh, okay, thank you. So, what happens is when it rains, dirt, silt, and all that stuff kind of falls into the rivers and lakes, and then it fills in those spaces under those rocks. And that means the hellbender can't get in there, because that's where they actually lay their eggs and they have their babies, is under those big rocks too. And so they couldn't get under there because it was so filled with debris and lots of tiny, tiny little particles. And so the zoo actually started making, oops, I'm gonna find my picture. There it is. Making homes for them. So they started building nest boxes for them. Very heavy, you know, so there's 2 people carrying them out. I'd honestly say they're like 50, 60 pounds each, because they have to be heavy because they're going into moving water and they don't want to move them. So these are like rocks. So the one end is open. So as the stream is moving this way, they make the opening over here. And that way they don't get filled, and it's closed on this end and it doesn't get filled with all that kind of sediment, and they can go safely in kind of like a fake rock, and then they can have their babies in there. So we've got about 40 of those out in those streams in North Carolina in the mountains, helping out the hellbenders out there, which is pretty cool, huh? All right, let's see. Let's go to, we're gonna go to the sandhills. I'm not gonna take him out because he's so small. Let's see.
Yeah,
we can.
Smalls.
He's tiny. Smalls. Smalls is Smalls. Smalls is hiding. He's in the back corner under all the moss, of course. I'm just gonna move move the furniture around so you guys can see them. So these are Carolina gopher frogs, and they're found in the sandhill regions, kind of near Pinehurst, kind of around that area. I thought I was going to do this. Yes, please.
Okay.
I need all the help I can get today. All right, because those amphibians, just like the hellbender, they're what we call bioindicators. They're indicating the health of the environment. And so we want to protect those bioindicators. Sorry, Smalls. You gotta move. There you go, buddy. That's all. So they can see your cuteness. So back here, oh, kind of the little blob in the back corner. So it's really hard to see. Oh, there she is. She moved it in a bit. So these are Carolina gopher frogs, and they live in like stumps and holes and burrows down there in the sandhill region, which means there's lots of sand, and it's a sandy and much easier place to dig holes. And what's really cool is they are endangered. And so we want to help bring their numbers up. So what they've been doing, oh, there's a good picture. Now you can see her cute little face. There it is. Can you guys see her? Let me know you can see her. Or him. Not 100% sure.
I think Smalls.
I think the Smalls is the female too.
Yep, they can see. Okay,
all right.
So, and Charles wants to know, is that an eye or a spot?
Well, if you look in that big dark spot you're looking at, that is her eye. Let's see. Whoop, no, we moved. Get it back in. Ah! Sorry.
That spot is the eyeball.
Yeah. Hard to see it now. Hard to focus because all the water in the front is creating a camera to focus on that. So what's going on is we have staff that go down to the sandhills and the ponds and stuff that are out there, and they collect not all, just some of those eggs, this gelatinous mass of eggs, and they bring it back to the zoo, and they put them in containers until they become tadpoles, and then those tadpoles get put into these, we call them, fancy science word, mesocosms. Basically, they're just little habitats for them. And that way, because all those eggs we saw there in the wild, maybe, if we're lucky, 1 or 2 of those would actually grow to be an adult frog. So by pulling those eggs in and then raising them to be small frogs and then releasing them, that's what we're doing here, we're releasing a frog.
Aww.
Back into the wild.
Yay, froggy.
Right? So their chances of survival are greater. So if they can get to that larger size, they're more likely to survive. So it's called head starting is a fancy word. So we're giving them a head start. So we're taking those eggs and letting those tadpoles be able to grow into tadpoles and then grow into small, or metamorphs is the fancy word that they like to use. And then once they get to a certain size, releasing back into the wild to kind of bolster those populations. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. You have a question? Oh, sorry. You giving me time. Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's go to things we do here at the zoo. Lots of cool stuff, guys. We have a solar panel we call Solar Point. So each of these buildings has solar panels, and we can power 12 houses for a whole year.
Wow.
Based on our solar panels. And it's a nice picnic area too. All right, guys. I don't know if you know this, but our zoo.
Of course you had to bring out the food.
Of course you did. So we deal with a lot of poop, right? We have lots of animals making poop every day. So we have huge compost piles. We want to make sure we use all that. Thank you. So all the poop and a lot of actually when you go to our restaurants, the plates, the napkins, the forks, the spoons, all that stuff is actually compostable. And so we can put it in these big piles. I was
hoping you were going to tell them it was made of poop.
I know. So it's compostable. It can be dumped in our compost. And we actually have they're so big, the piles are so big that they need big machinery like this to stir it up. Let's see, we have Monarch weigh stations to help monarchs here at the zoo. You can see those all over the zoo. But probably my favorite place to go, I love visiting because you never know what you're going to see there,
sure,
is our Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Does anybody know what a Wildlife Rehabilitation Center is? What happens there? Yes? What are you doing here? Do you have a party? Paper's all a mess.
No
guesses? No guesses? I'll give you a hint. This little guy came from here.
Oh.
So came from the wild. Well, he came from the wild. So he was wildlife. This is Vanderbilt. And he sustained an injury. We're not really sure how. He's actually missing the upper part of his nose or his beak. So he has an underbite. Most of the time, turtles' beaks should go over the top of their lower jaw. He doesn't have that. He looks very grumpy all the time. It's a grumpy turtle. So somebody found him injured and they brought him to our Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, which is basically a hospital for wild animals. And so he was kind of fixed up, but his injury was so bad, can you truly eat and be able to hunt, and not really hunt, but catch your food and chew your food if you're missing half your mouth? You kind of need some assistance. And so he wasn't able to be released back into the wild. And that is the goal. So we get, I think they get over like 700 animals every year admitted into that our rehab center. Over 100 different kind of species they get every year. And the goal is to get them back in the wild, fixed up, back in the wild. Sometimes it works, sometimes they don't survive. Sometimes they're not releasable. And in this case, he became an ambassador for his species. Mm-hmm. So Vanderbilt is our state turtle. He is an eastern box turtle. And now he is an ambassador, an awesome ambassador.
Yes, he is.
He's a very cute ambassador.
Yes, he is.
There's that little grumpy face,
yes,
which we all love. So our zoo does so many cool things all around the world and even here in our backyard. And we actually have, one thing I forgot to mention too, we own a lot of land. So we own over 2,800 acres of land, and our zoo is actually only using 500 of it. So all that rest acres, 2,300 acres, that's my math, right? Yep. Is actually preserved land. So we preserve lots of different animals for animals like Vanderbilts and all kinds of different animals that live in our area. So the zoo does a huge amount. And that's why we wanted to do this program, to thank them and all the cool things that they do. And we just touched on a few. There's more out there. And you guys can find those on our website. There's a really cool conservation page on our website, nczoo.org. And you can learn all the different things that we do to help our animals, help our ecosystems, all kinds of cool stuff that we do. Do you guys have any questions about anything, Mr. Vanderbilt? Anything like that? I know we're running all along. I got so excited. There were so many things to talk about, and you guys asked such great questions, which I appreciate very much.
I don't see any questions.
All right. Well, thank you guys. So we're going to take a break. We will be back December 3rd.
We do have a question.
Oh yeah, okay.
What is his shell made of? Natalie wants to know.
Oh, let's see if you guys know. You guys out there know?
Can everybody help her in the chat?
What is the shell made out of? I think I've shown you the inside. Keratin is the scutes, this very outer layer, is it? But what under those scutes, what is it? Just like scutes is like our skin, limestone. Limestone, I like that. Bone, right? It is. It's like our skull, right? So we have skin protecting our skull. They have scutes protecting it, and then under the scutes, that top layer is bone, kind of like our skull. So yeah, good question. A calcium carbonate, right? Nice job. Right, so we'll be back December 3rd. We're gonna enjoy Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys do too. All right, guys, be safe out there, and we'll see you in December. All right, guys, take care.
Bye.